ever since we've had the basically a Republican majority on the city council, we've come in with a zero tax increase.
Right.
And I don't know how much longer that can happen, but I know that that's what your goal is for this time too, isn't it?
Yes, we're looking at a zero this year. Actually, last year we reduced taxes for everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
The year before it was a reduction to, I think it was 60% of the community. But yeah, I mean, and it was based upon looking at efficiencies. We looked at that self-insurance. That was a huge piece. Now, we did add to the budget last year. Overall, we reduced spending, but we did add position. And a position that we added was a risk manager. And that risk manager has yielded us. We said, and this is what I would do as mayor, any positions that we're going to add, we have to get value back for it. And that position that we added, we gave up I guess, a secretary to the finance director, and that person, you know, was placed in another position. They did not lose their job, but this position alone is going to save close to $400,000 in our budget this year. Workman's comp, also going to the hearings. We weren't sending people to workman comp hearings. We weren't contesting people who were filing for unemployment. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Now we have safe practices. We're looking at putting a safety committee together and actually already have one in place now. Those things weren't going on, and those also go to the fact of your insurances being reduced based upon what you're putting together. To say to your workers, we need to have safe practices, getting them involved and interested in that, and showing them that we want you to be safe on the job. I think the issue with looking at the budget was we wanted to look at it from a perspective that a planning part. We were looking at not just getting it to zero, but looking at the needs of the community. And we were looking at zero tax, you know, looking at it from a policy perspective of having, putting everything on paper of what the needs are, and then assessing what we could afford. And we've done a lot of infrastructure improvements. We've also understood that this year we also have to sharpen our pencils a little more, and we're doing that. And that was part of getting the 10-year extension for Veolia. Basically, we had the wastewater treatment contractor who could be added an additional 10 years. I looked at that contract and said, you know, why not? We can save on, you know, redoing the contract in 7 years. We can save on insurances, because those costs of insurance is going to go up if we're going to renegotiate the contract. We're going to save on many things. And we had the ability to take $1 million out. Usually you can't commingle those funds. Those funds are supposed to be directed towards water and sewer. And because we had an upfront payment, we were able to get $1 million on the city side and look at the infrastructure costs, but also understand that there might be a big hit to the cities. And if we can have that money out there that we could utilize in the budget this year, if there was a huge reduction, and we won't know until next week.
Yeah.
But I think there's not going to be that hit to the communities, but we don't know. So I think that's a planning part that looking forward and trying to continue to say we're not going to rest on our laurels. We want to make sure we're definitely getting better efficiency-wise. But we can do better with the board taking over their finance department, having it come on the city side. We can save them. The figure that I looked at was close to $500,000. If you took away their director of finance, that goes even higher, and that's to the board. You know, so I think to me, you know, the number one thing is not taxing people out of their homes and making it affordable for people to live here. And you got to know what to look at, and you got to know what we're doing in terms of where the savings can be done. And just the other day, I put on, and I know it might not be popular with some of the unions, but emergency room costs. We have a copay of $25 for our employees, but the reports are showing that people are going to the emergency room when they don't necessarily need to go, and our insurance is looking at a 4% increase. if we look to increase those copays, and we say to the employees, look, we'll increase your copays. If you go to the emergency room, you break bones or you're admitted to the hospital, you won't even have to pay $25. But if you go there and you have a sore throat, you have a fever, you don't have a primary care doctor, don't go there. Go to a walk-in clinic. And if we can increase that and maybe share the savings with them, we will turn around and increase. And I've looked on it on paper. We would have a zero if the state doesn't increase. Keeps us flat. Doesn't take away money. I don't know that that'll be a popular thing with them, but you have to look long term. And I would say to the unions, many communities are laying off people because of poor decisions previously. You don't want somebody who's going to sit there and try and do magic when there is no magic to be made. You want to go to them in an honest, forthright discussion and say, look, these are the things we need to do to save money not only this year, but down the road. Right. And to keep you secure in a job. That doesn't mean that we should keep jobs just to keep them. But we should try and maintain. But
you want to maintain the services that you have.
Maintain the services, correct. And I think that would be my pitch to the people who serve in unions as well as the citizens, to say we want to maintain the services, but we also have to look at working with each other in an honest way. And I think that it was passed. There were a couple of members who weren't in love with it, but I think you have to have those discussions.